Trump says Haley, Pompeo won't be invited to join White House. President-elect Donald Trump announced Saturday that Nikki Haley, who served as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations in his first term, and then ran against him for the Republican nomination this cycle, will not be invited to join his administration. He also said that Mike Pompeo, who was both Secretary of State and CIA Director in Trump's first term, would not be rejoining his cabinet either. I will not be inviting former Ambassador Nikki Haley or former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to join the Trump administration, which is currently in formation, Trump wrote. I very much enjoyed and appreciated working with them previously, and would like to thank them for their service to our country. This comes after two sources familiar with the process had told CBS News that the 60-year-old Pompeo was being discussed as a possible contender for Secretary of Defense. The 52-year-old Haley, the former governor of South Carolina, ran for the Republican nomination in 2016, but endorsed Sen. Marco Rubio of Florida after dropping out. However, Trump still selected her to be his UN ambassador, a post she held until her abrupt resignation in 2018. At the time, Trump praised her, saying that she was very special to him and that she could return to his administration in the future, adding, "You can have your pick." Haley did not run for president in 2020, but launched a 2024 bid against her former boss. She suspended her campaign following Super Tuesday in March, the last major Republican challenger in the field to do so. But it was not until over 2 months later, when she delivered an address at Milwaukee's Republican National Convention in July, that she endorsed Trump. At the time, she said Trump had asked her to speak in a show of unity. In an interview with CBS News' Face the Nation in September, Haley told Margaret Brennan that "I don't agree with Trump 100% of the time. I don't have to like him or agree with him 100% of the time to know that life for Americans would be better under the policies where we had strong immigration, where we had law and order, where we had an economy, where we could look at opportunities, where we've got national security that is strong," she said. Pompeo, who also endorsed Trump at the RNC, served for all 4 years of the first Trump administration. He chose not to run against Trump in 2024. Trump on Friday announced that he had selected his campaign co-chair, Susie Wiles, to be his White House chief of staff, making her the first woman in history to hold that post. It marked his first major White House staffing decision since defeating Vice President Kamala Harris to win the presidency. Trump says he is running against evil Democrat system. Former President Donald Trump used his final campaign rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan, to attack high-profile Democrats, including President Joe Biden and former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. Trump told attendees he is not running solely against Vice President Kamala Harris. "I'm running against an evil Democrat system," he said. "These are evil people." Trump launched into attacks on Biden, pushing unfounded claims that Harris only became the nominee because Democrats wanted to be politically correct. Trump then made fun of Harris's name, calling it a strange name, before pivoting back to criticize Biden. "I wasn't running against Biden either," Trump said. "He was stuck in a basement. I didn't even run against him. Now running against a very evil system, and we have to defeat that system, and America's future will be an absolutely incredible one." The former president also mouthed an expletive when referring to Pelosi. "She's a crooked person," he added. "She's a bad person, evil." Trump suggests supporters to blame if he loses. Former President Donald Trump's final campaign rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan, saw the Republican presidential nominee urging supporters to head to the polls, while also again casting doubt on the security of the electoral process. Multiple times throughout Trump's speech, he told supporters to go out to the polls tomorrow. However, given the rally was happening after midnight, people in the crowd started yelling "today," and then Trump falsely said the election was happening on Wednesday. "That's okay. I want to be exactly accurate for them, but go out today and vote. And I guess 7 o'clock or whatever time it is doesn't matter. And we're going to have the greatest victory in the history of our country." Trump then suggested that his supporters might be to blame if he does not defeat Vice President Kamala Harris. "There's nothing they can do if Republicans turn out," Trump said of his opponents. "In other words, to make you feel a little guilty, we would only have you to blame." Later, Trump claimed he has the silent majority and urged his supporters to speak up. The former president also again cast doubt on the security of voting machines, despite officials and experts confirming the security of the election system. Perhaps I will be president in less than 24 hours, or maybe it will take these machines that we pay so much for 2 weeks, Trump said, claiming that paper ballots would be cheaper, faster, and more secure. What the hell is happening in the inside of those machines? He continued. If you wait, we want the answer tomorrow, tonight, Trump said, quickly correcting himself. We want the answer tonight. You have to cheat, Trump said about Democrats. Who the hell is going to approve that stuff? Who's going to prove open borders with criminals pouring into our country by the millions? Now they have to cheat. They have to cheat. And they do it very well, actually. Walzen's campaign addressing guys in the crowd on reproductive rights. Minnesota Gov. Tim Walz spoke for less than 5 minutes during his final campaign rally of the 2024 presidential race, focusing on reproductive rights. The governor and his wife, Gwen, participated in the campaign's Election Eve festivities on Monday in the pivotal battleground state of Michigan, following their blitz through Wisconsin. You could probably tell from these rallies all across the country tonight, this team is running like everything's on the line because everything's on the line, Walz said in Detroit. Addressing the guys in the crowd about reproductive rights, Walz said the issue really underlines the stakes in this election. I want you to think about the women in your life that you love, he said. Their lives are at stake in this election. Donald Trump appointed those Supreme Court justices who repealed Roe v. Wade, and he brags about it. Vice President Kamala Harris, Walz said, would codify reproductive freedom if a bill came upon her desk as president. When Congress passes that bill to restore reproductive freedom, President Harris will sign it into law, Walz said. Kamala and I trust women. It's that simple. Now tomorrow, women all across America, of every age, both parties, are going to send a loud and clear message to Donald Trump, whether he likes it or not. Walz ended his remarks by stressing the historical significance of Tuesday's election. There's going to be a day you're going to be sitting in that rocking chair, and you're going to be rocking on that porch, Walz said. And a little one is going to come home from school and ask, what did you do in the 2024 election? Where the American experiment survived, where the rule of law survived, where decency survived. Walz added, and you're going to be able to answer every damn thing I could. Dixville Notch, New Hampshire votes split evenly between Harris and Trump. The first 6 ballots of the 2024 presidential election have officially been counted in Dixville Notch, New Hampshire. Of the 6 registered voters in the town, 3 votes were cast for Vice President Kamala Harris, and 3 votes went to former President Donald Trump. Oprah joins Harris on stage for final campaign rally in Philadelphia. Famed talk show host Oprah Winfrey joined Harris on stage where they aimed to motivate voters ahead of Election Day. One more day, just one more day in the most consequential election of our lifetime, Harris said. And momentum is on our side. Joe Rogan and Elon Musk defend Trump's controversial Liz Cheney comments. On Joe Rogan's podcast, Elon Musk defended various comments Donald Trump has recently faced backlash for, saying he's being misunderstood. The two defended Trump's recent violent rhetoric against former Rep. Liz Cheney, suggesting she should have a rifle with 9 barrels shooting at her, claiming the former president's comments have been misconstrued. A lot of people reached out to me, they're like, oh, Trump says he wants to execute Liz Cheney. I'm like, that is utter BS. That's not what he said at all. It's not what he said at all, Musk claimed. What he's saying is that, look, if Liz Cheney actually had to fight at the front lines, she should think twice about going to war. It's easy to be a warmonger if you don't have to, risk dying at the front lines, Musk said, despite the fact that the backlash Trump faced was about the violent rhetoric itself. Cheney, a Republican who was once a rising star in her party but lost re-election largely over her vocal criticism of Trump, has endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. The two women have appeared together at several events as Harris works to woo disaffected Republican voters. Harris rallies Pittsburgh to cross the finish line with her. Momentum is on our side. For her second rally of the day, Vice President Kamala Harris addressed a crowd of about 15,000 against the backdrop of an old steel mill in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Accompanied by Katy Perry's power vocals, Harris encouraged supporters to utilize their hard-earned momentum to cross the finish line. Pittsburgh, this is it. Tomorrow is election day. Tomorrow is election day, and the momentum is on our side, she said. Our campaign has tapped into the ambitions, the aspirations and the dreams of the American people, and we know it is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And I am ready to offer that leadership as the next president of the United States. She urged the crowd to turn the page to chants of "We're not going back." And we have an opportunity in this election to finally turn the page on a decade of politics driven by fear and division. We are done with that, she said. We're done. We're done. We're exhausted with it, and Pittsburgh, we are not going back. We're not going back. She continued, ours is not a fight against something, it is a fight for something. It is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom, like the fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own life and not let the government tell her what to do. Harris's fairly brief speech was nearly line for line the same as her one in Allentown, Pennsylvania earlier in the day. Her campaign has said that the speeches are being timed ahead of her next and final stop in Philadelphia. Harris continued to avoid directly using former President Trump's name, barely referring to him at all, except to acknowledge that voters are ready for a president who doesn't stew over an enemies list. We are ready for a president who knows the true measure of a leader is not based on who you beat down, it is based on who you lift up, she said. And instead of stewing over an enemies list, I will spend every day working on my to-do list, all full of priorities to improve your life,